Hello, everybody. Welcome to the people. This week we're going to be hosting Erin, who just hopped on. So let me bring her in. Hello, love. Actually, you request to jump in, and then I can pop you in. It's not showing up on my end, the request to jump in. I'm not sure if you've pushed it or not yet. Welcome to everyone else who's hopped on. Oh my gosh. Hello, aloha, the surf professor. Definitely go check out his account. He's awesome. It's so good to see you on here. Let's see. Aha, there you are. Got you, girl. All right. I just invited you in, Erin, and
There we go.
yay!
Yeah. I was like,
Hi.
hello.
How are
How
you
are
doing? I'm well.
you?
Get you into my AirPod. There, perfect. Ooh, I like those background choices.
I was like, let me do like a cool filter.
Yeah,
Um,
do it. I'm all about it. I like filters. I get that they give like an it's important that everyone recognizes that they exist. So for younger people that think like, oh, everyone looks this way, and you're like, no, this is a filter. But they're still fun. I like
yeah,
them.
they can be
Like,
really
yeah,
fun. Like sometimes I would
exactly.
do like some type of fairy wings or something, and it's just fun. It's like more
It
play and
is.
creativity.
I fully agree with that. I'm so happy that you're here, and thank you for
Me
everyone
too.
joining and watching live. I've been looking forward to this discussion, and I'd love to start out with you sharing a little bit about yourself. I'll just say that Erin and I met in a clubhouse room. We were both invited as speakers into a clubhouse room talking about the existence of God. And she shared some really profound insight. And I just thought this woman is really cool. I would love to have a conversation with her. So I reached out and I said, hey, do you want to do this IG Live? And you said yes. And now here we are. Thank you for accepting my invite. Do you want to? I'd love for you, I'm still getting to know you. I'd love for you to introduce yourself to everyone so they can hear from your mouth a little bit about your journey and who you are
Yeah,
and what you are offering to the world.
sure. And by the way, when I heard you speak in that clubhouse room, I thought the same thing. I was like, this woman is powerful and magnetic and
Oh,
really sounds like she's done some deep, spiritual work. Like I resonated strongly with everything you said. So it's great that we can connect here on this platform. So yeah, just a little bit about me, Erin Lyons. I am 26 years old. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, but I have been living in New York City for about 3.5 years now. I actually just moved to Jersey, but I still work in the city. So by trade, I am a licensed wealth advisor and stockbroker. I've been working on Wall Street since I was like 19. It was just like my
oh
dream.
wow.
Yeah, like I don't know. I just have always gravitated more towards like I guess what we would call masculine jobs or careers. So I was just very like excited and thrilled by this industry, and that's what brought me to New York. Meanwhile, I've also always been extremely spiritual and really awakened. So I'm also an angelic and galactic channel. For those of you who don't know what that means, that means that I do communicate with the angelic realm and different star beings that just communicate with me to channel information that the collective needs right now so that Earth can ascend into its next level. So I strongly identify with being a star seed, a light worker, and we're going to get into all of that in this conversation. I'm also a quantum healer. So today's activation, that will be the quantum healing aspect of what I do, which is going in to recode your chakras, your subconscious mind, your inner child. Like there's so many different things that I can do with combining like Reiki and light language. So yeah, very exciting stuff. And I'm pretty sure throughout the conversation, I'll be able to shed more light about what these things actually are.
Okay, well, let's start with that we hopped on the phone for a little bit just to think about what we wanted to talk about today because there's so much to talk about. And one of the things the two of us started chatting about was the process. That's what we titled today, Coming Out of the Spiritual Closet, because that's an expression I came up with for myself. And then Erin said, I use that same expression. And so I want to talk to that a little bit because for me, I realized through the course of my life, the culture that I grew up in New York City, actually, you're there now. I grew up there and I sensed energy. I had these experiences. No one took me seriously. I was always called woo woo. People kind of like were like, all right, whatever, crazy lady. Um, and over the years, this is very definitely making a long story short. I just closed down. I just stopped talking to people about those things. And at some point, I had an epiphany in my life that I wasn't really living in my true authentic self because I didn't talk about half of my experiences because I just assumed that people were going to invalidate me and nobody wanted to hear about it. I didn't even realize the ramifications that was even having on my physical body, blocking some of those things. And then eventually I just said, excuse my language, but fuck it. I am going to be myself. And if someone thinks I'm weird because I say my spirit guides told me this, or I say that I saw that in your energy field, that's not my problem. Like people
Yeah.
can see me for who I am. And if they're not a good match and they don't speak that language and they don't want to be my friend because of it, I'm not changing who I am anymore to fit into like a conventional ideal. And
Mhm.
so you were speaking a little bit to that experience as well. I know for you, like moving from, let's say, the world of finance, and you're still doing that. I'm so curious to hear about your own personal
Yeah.
experience of how you discovered you had these gifts, how you had the confidence to start sharing them openly and publicly. And then what is that like for you still being in, you
Right.
know, in finance? I,
Yeah.
I don't want to assume, I don't want to like stereotype that financial people don't speak, alien light language, but it might, so please share your
Right.
experience.
Yeah, it's so interesting for me because I like having my spiritual awakening was it was almost like just awakening to the fact that life is a game and that I could play with it and like I had that inner power to create what I wanted to create. And so I think that's why I did gravitate towards like business and entrepreneurship and because what I do in wealth management is very entrepreneurial. So it was like using the spiritual tools that I now had to create to build my reality. So I'm like huge into manifestation. That's what a lot of my Sacred Hustle brand is about. So in my own internal world, I never saw things as actually being separate because I was playing this this integrated life game. But I did understand that to other people it would seem like, oh, you have like your career and like corporate and like that stuff and then you have spirituality. So a huge part of my what I like to call my soul blueprint, because we're all each here to do very unique specific things. My blueprint is really energetically coded to show people that there is no separation between like these different worlds and to show people that we are multidimensional beings. But of course, on my journey, there have been points where I did feel confused or I felt like I can't share this side of myself with everybody. And even up until I would say really this year, it did feel like I was living a double life. Like it felt like, okay, I'm like out in life with like my normal friends and like the normal people that I'm around and the normal things that I do, like bars and parties and etc. Like I live a very normal life for someone that is also like extremely connected to source and spiritual. Um,
Can I
but
pause you? I,
yeah,
I want to just pause you because what you just said is interesting to me, and I'm a total word fanatic. You just said, I live a normal life for someone who is spiritual. So I'm curious, what does that mean when you say normal life? Because part of what I'm passionate about is helping, and what this discussion, we titled it like coming out of the spiritual closet, is to normalize
yes.
what I'll let you share, but I'll just share really quickly about for me. Like I found in my journey of being a quote unquote spiritual person, I always get stereotyped as being vegan. People assume I'm doing always wearing white and doing yoga. If I drink a glass of wine at dinner, they're almost like, oh my gosh, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I had to work a lot on integrating based
Mm,
on what other people projected onto me of how I should be because I might be able to channel or be able to read their energy thinking that I therefore led a very pure, specific type of life, and dealing with my own guilt of like, well, I still want to be able to drink wine. I like wine. I still smoke spliffs here and there, like there are things I like to do. Am I a bad spiritual leader or teacher or coach because I do those things? So going back to the statement, what, you say, okay, I do normal things. I speak to that. Like when you say
Yeah,
that.
sure. So exactly what you said. Like I go out with friends, I have a couple glasses of wine. Like I love hip hop. I like, and rap, and like I am literally a normal person, but I'm just spiritual. Like it's all integrated into my reality. It's not like a separate thing. And it's so funny because when I had this huge spiritual awakening when I was in college, I didn't know what to do after it. It was kind of like, because sometimes a spiritual awakening can be very like destabilizing. You're like, okay, whoa, I just was like way up here, and then now I'm like back in reality. I don't know what the fuck to do. Like, and at the time I was getting my finance degree, so I was like, do I drop out? Do I like move to India and like shave my head? Because we have that perception of what it means to be enlightened or what it means to be spiritual. But what I actually learned was that the universe just wanted me to be me. And
Mm-hmm.
that was what was beautiful, is that I get to be this unique expression of the creator. The creator does not require me to do or be anything or to be a specific way. The whole point is actually to show up and be like, oh, God can actually show up in this format too. And that's beautiful. So yeah, it's just a huge part of what I'm here to embody and what I'm here to show, because it's exactly like what you're saying, where people do have these ideas of like, oh, well, now I can't, like, I don't know, be on a dating app, or I can't, these weird things that people think that they can't do. But in fact, the whole point of life is that we're exploring creation, that we're exploring, these beautiful divine, just like innovations and technologies and whatever. It's just a game of experience, literally. You don't have to, um, nothing is required of you to change. All you really do is become more of your source self.
Mm-hmm. I really like, as you're speaking, just also when we even just say, what does it mean to be a spiritual person? Maybe you have more of your consciousness focused on studying spirituality, but through my studying of spirituality, I just continue to learn more and more and come deeper into the understanding that everything is spirit,
Yeah.
and accepting that, and moving out of my own opinions and judgments of how the divine is expressing itself. It's something that I'm having the illusion of as other, coming back to what you said about like really each of us have it expressing and discovering that everything ultimately is one source, and then learning how to work within that, to create powerfully.
Yeah, it's almost like realizing that everything was already spiritual anyways. You didn't have to try to be spiritual, because by being alive, you are having a spiritual experience. It's impossible not to be spiritual. Even people who don't identify with being spiritual, they're still spirits having a human experience. And it's still spiritual. It's all this like spiritual process. So yeah, I think we're just at a point in like the human journey where we're gonna stop compartmentalizing like all of these different things and just realize that we're all connected to the same source that just wants to experience its infinite potential.
Awesome. Very beautifully said. Let's all take a deep breath and really receive that. Thank
Yeah.
you. So, that being said, I'm curious, you channel Arcturian and alien intelligences. So this is again is another level of where some people might go, I don't even know if I believe in extraterrestrials. Like, what do you mean? What's an Arcturian or a Palladian? Or
These
so
different-
at some point did you come out of the closet? Like who, like you, maybe you started to, like, I'd love for you to talk a little bit, just for everyone watching and having their own experiences of awakening. Did you always receive information? At some point did you get clear where that information was coming? Did it happen one day you just sort of woke up and was like, oh, I'm Arcturians are speaking to me? What was that process like for
Yeah.
you? And then when were you comfortable telling other people that that's where, you have Arcturian friends and so on?
In terms of identifying as a channel or a channeler or someone that has like this direct communication with spirit or like these different galactic beings. It's very new for me actually. Like January, so beginning of this year is where like my channel was just fully popped open and like I started to have that direct communication. I always knew that I would get like downloads of information like my whole life. Like I knew it, like this was from something else. And I would kind of even joke around with it with myself, like, I think aliens are trying to like communicate with me, right? And like things like that, but just be really playful with it. So I knew that I was channeling information and that I was here to be a spiritual teacher, but I never thought that I was going to be like be a channel for other people, like where it was going to be a part of my like public identity. I thought it was just, oh, I pick up on information for myself because
Mm-hmm.
everyone has the ability to receive messages from spirit. Everybody does receive messages from spirit. It's just that certain souls will sign up to just play a certain role. And so within my soul contract, within my soul blueprint, I've chosen to just have more of a direct flowing communication just for the purpose of information that really needs to get out right now. So yeah, I was always aware that I was different. I always identified as a star seed, like knew I was a star seed once I like had come across that information. But in terms of what it has escalated to, and still very recently for me, never really saw this coming. Never saw this coming.
I would love for you to talk to defining and what a star seed is, because not, you and I are versed and get that language, but it might mean different things to different people. So let's maybe establish an idea for someone who's never heard that term before. What is a star seed?
Sure. And so I'm actually I'm in channel mode right now. So the Arcturians are kind of just giving me like a transmission for this. And what they're saying is that a star seed is a soul who has spent majority of their incarnations on another planet. They have ascended beyond the human Earth game. And so a star seed will incarnate into this sort of earth format to anchor in the frequencies, the gifts, the talents, and these other, and like just the enlightenment and the wisdom that we already have on our home planets to bring it here to help humans awaken. So you have some people who are really just human, meaning that their soul has only really incarnated on earth, and then you have other souls who have spent more time on other galactic in other galaxies or like different planets and have trained and signed up to be here to bring certain information.
And what would you, I mean, obviously, so I'm 42. I'm a little bit older than you. It's interesting for me. I'm curious, like, how did you get exposure? Like, well, for me, growing up originally, like, I'd say energy, and literally my stepfather would say to me, energy, spenergy. And now you can go on YouTube and you can look up Starseed, are you Arcturian? Are you this?
It's out
And
there.
I'm curious to hear just about, us having a slight age difference, what your experience growing up being 26 years old, like from what age would you say that you were aware of these terms? Do you think you were guided maybe to information that said, hey, this is what a star seed is? Did you know what
Yeah.
that was from day one? What was that like for you?
When I was coming across information about like aliens and star seeds and stuff like that, that was when I was in college. So I was around, I would say things really amped up when I was 18, 19, 20. Like that's when I was just like having a like ego unfolding and like coming into all these different awarenesses. And then I also did a lot with plant medicine. So a lot of those, like if anybody has ever experimented with psychedelics, it's, it can be very mind blowing. And so I had some really powerful experiences that just kind of helped me to understand, okay, everything is God, everything is source energy. I get that. So the concept of like aliens and these different um, galactic beings, it was just natural for me to just it just made sense to me that that was true. It wasn't like something I had to convince myself on. I just always resonated with like, oh, that's true. Like I can remember being in college and, I'm going through this huge awakening, but I can't really tell anybody like what's going on with me, right? And you know, when you're young, you're with your friends and maybe you're like drinking and things like that, and everybody would be like talking about whatever. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about fucking aliens in the universe, and like, I can't stop thinking about it. So
Yeah.
like and then you might try to like ask people questions here and there just to see like, have you ever thought about this? Have you ever questioned religion or anything like that? And then getting the feedback that people were like not thinking about that, and you're like, okay, I get it, this is a me thing, like this is something that I'm going through. And then I think that's where the isolation is what they're telling me now is like, as a star seed, earth angel, light worker, whatever you resonate with, that is where the isolation period comes in, because you feel like you can't share your true self with other people. You kind of create this split identity, like, oh, this is my identity when I'm just out, like when I'm out with normal people, and then when I go home, I'm like on YouTube all night watching like weird shit, like binge watching, channeling, and like all this stuff. So
Hmm.
yeah, that was pretty much my life. Like, I had a ball. Like, I've had amazing friends. I did everything a normal, you know, college kid or like person in their 20s would do, but it was just integrated with spirituality.
Yeah. And you would you say now that you've like are much more vocal and open about speaking about these things like we are right here, what has been your response from people? Have you felt that your community has come around you, or what has that been like now that you're openly speaking about it?
The response has been really, really beautiful. So, Sacred Hustle is still really new. It's really like a month old, and it was born out of coming into my awareness about these gifts and my soul blueprint and the things that I'm here to do. And, you know, to be honest, it took a lot of healing that my guides had to do with me, because what happens is, throughout childhood, when we're presented with these different experiences, and even from past lives, we build protective layers around ourselves that don't allow us to fully be seen, because maybe you have a past life where you were burned at the stake and like called a witch because you were, I don't know, doing tarot cards or something like that. So a lot of us carry these experiences, just like in our DNA from past lives. And so they actually had to do a lot of work with me and clear out different blockages just so I could confidently show up like this. I mean, literally
Hmm.
3 years ago, I would have been terrified to have this conversation. I would have been like, holy shit, like I could, like I have, you know, clients, I have real business that I do, I have a real life. Like, I cannot seem like I'm in la la woo land, right? It's what it comes down to is, and I shared about this in my Instagram post today, is seeing your gifts and this connection as truly being a divine gift. We are in service. We are here in service. And when you keep that at the forefront of your being, you don't really care what anybody thinks, because you're like, okay, you're clearly in a lower level of consciousness. Like, why would I listen to anything that you say? And it does take the self-empowerment work to come from that place of power to override kind of like the ego's need to want the validation or the reassurance and like all these different things. I'm like, oh, like what if I don't fit in? And it's like, well, fuck it, I'm just not going to fit in then, right? But I have something to do that's really, really important. And it's like honing in on that, what you are here to do is really, really important, right? Like, your soul has the mastery to be here during this time. That is why you are here. That is what needs to drive your existence right now. That is what you need to think about. And it's like, it's really cool when you think about it. Oh, I get to be connected to the universe and like manifest things and not be miserable. It's like, you know, it's actually awesome. So we have to shift our perception of what it means to be, you know, a connected individual.
What would you recommend? So you spoke a little bit about your guides working with you. Was that was that through meditation, or did you actually put aside a bit of time every day or once a week to do journaling? How would you just, I'd love to hear what your experience is and what you would recommend for people who are watching this and want to get deeper into that work, maybe
Yeah.
haven't worked or don't hear their spirit guides quite as clearly. Um, yeah, please share your experience of what that was like for you.
So I work with my healer, my activator. Like she's the one who told me. So I had a
Is that
set.
a that's a physical person or a
Yes,
non? Okay, just want to clarify since we're,
but she's, you know, she does the exact same thing that I do. She's a channel, she's an Arcturian starseed. Like we're literally here to do the same thing. So of course I gravitated toward, you know, to her energy, and I booked some time with her, and she's like, holy shit. She's like, I have the Arcturian Council here and the high angelic realm, and like they've been trying to get in contact with you. And I was like, okay. And you know, channeled through her, we were able to work through some of those blockages, and, you know, through quantum healing. So using light language, using Reiki, just a range of modalities that helped me release some of those blockages is what really helped me kind of like step into this power. But now, you know, that is what I'm here to do for other people. That I'm a quantum healer and a channel, you know, that can provide people with the information that they need, the healing that they need in the moment. So really just here as an activator.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Um, wow, this is awesome. Um, so when you right now, I mean, you're doing a lot of different things. I saw you were like actually just writing out channelings that were coming through. Are you working on a book? Like, what are the sort of different
Yeah.
ways you do one-on-one sessions with people? And then you also like have developed this whole brand, Sacred Hustle. And for everyone, please go check out Erin's page. I pinned it down there. You talk about like a lot around empowerment with money, which is also fascinating to me because just as much as we're having the conversation of maybe the stereotype that financial people are somehow not going to be open to spirituality, there's also the exact reverse of that, that a lot of spiritual people are not necessarily open to or have judgments around people with money. And somehow that these two things are completely separate from each other. A lot of, I definitely get it for those who maybe are more ethereal and more connected and not in the linear time, that it's a bit more of a struggle and takes a little bit more efforting to understand how things work on this dimension of earth,
Mm-hmm.
where people who just are like really grounded and get that can get how money works as a earth energy and how systems work, and may not have as easy a time plugging into more ethereal, vast, less linear
Yeah.
concepts if we even just break it into right brain, left brain. But I'd love for you to share, you're unique. I haven't met that many. I definitely have met people, especially now since COVID, who have worked and excelled and made a ton of money, and then suddenly were stopped in their tracks around COVID and realized, oh wow, I've sort of been on default and creating based on what I was told was going to make me happy and what was going to give me value, which is money. Like if I think we can all say, like, we mentioned hip hop, like it's just money, 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 and now pop music too, right? It's like everything is money, 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 money. We're told that everywhere. Whether it's like looking at images and it's indirectly like, look at that Lambo, or like expressions that people share that equate our value to money. We're so conditioned into that state. Um, there's so as I was saying, like people who maybe have achieved that and suddenly get there and like, oh, like this is not nirvana. Like I made, let's say, whatever, $1 million+, or I've worked
It,
with people who made a shit ton more money than that, and they're not happy, and now they have to do this introspection. So that's one path that I've seen people coming to connecting those. And then the other one is like, the other side again is like spiritual people who finally like ground in and start to do like you're doing, like embody their role as a teacher, start to offer their services, and then they start to heal their relationship to money, because as they're giving value, they're being supported by the universe. That's what I've seen. But you are like straight up in the world of finance right now. You're still working in wealth
yeah.
management, and you're also simultaneously building a practice. What would you say your goals are with your unique soul blueprint that has brought both of these energies in? How do you see yourself serving, having connection into both of those worlds?
Yeah. I mean, excellent question. It used to be really confusing for me because I would be like, I know I'm a spiritual teacher, but like, what the fuck? Why am I working in finance? But I also I love what I do in wealth management. And for those of you who aren't really familiar with the wealth space, there's so many cool things happening. There's impact investing and sustainability. There's like women's economic empowerment, and like all these cool things, different technological, innovation and venture capital, and all of that is really, really exciting to me. So for myself, I always saw wealth as like a necessity, because if you look in the spiritual community, the common trend that I saw is like, okay, people are really, spiritual and connected, but there's like a pattern of disempowerment because there's no infrastructure backing that, there's no capital. And so in my mind, in my being, it just made sense. I always thought, okay, I can connect just my understanding of like markets, the economy, capital, and resources with my spiritual awakening, and infuse those together and truly be a part of like building what I want to build. Like I want to be able to invest in sustainable businesses, invest in spiritual entrepreneurs and like things like that. So to me, it was never really separate, but it was confusing for me because I didn't know how to market that. I didn't know how to convey like what was happening for me internally to other people. But now that I'm like, I'm working with my spirit guides, and the first thing I asked them when we were like reunited, like when I was reunited with my galactic family, was like, should I be in finance? Like, what is this all about? And they're like, no, this is perfect. They're like, your blueprint is all about merging the spiritual with the material, because you understand that everything is one. There is no separation. Money is just a tool. It's just a game like anything else. Business, finance is just a game. It's something to play in. It's something to just like experience creation. So yeah, I hope I answered your question.
You did. And I would ask you, like, for people who are intimidated in approaching their own finances, or people who do feel disempowered, because there's a lot of people who still feel really
Yeah.
disempowered. There's a lot of conditioning in society not to talk about money. Don't talk about how much money you make. Don't ask people. And that, oh, it creates so much chaos and so much miscommunication. Are there maybe one or two points that you would just share with people so that they can feel more empowered how to handle their money, whether it's like saving money, or whether it's making their first investment, or whether they feel somehow, like, I'm so comfortable in the spiritual, but I don't know how to really grow my wealth? What would you say to those people?
Yeah, and so I actually last Sunday I had a money magnetism masterclass where I actually channeled the consciousness of money, and we were able to connect to that energy and allow that energy to kind of just like truly give us some insights into what money really is. And so the first thing that I would say is, stop seeing money as like an inanimate object. It's more of a consciousness. So just like we're incarnated into this physical experience as humans, money is a different aspect of source energy that is incarnated to play a certain role for humanity. And so when you can just see it for what it is just being a tool to experience life on earth, that's just, what it is. It's not evil. It's not anything that's above you. Like most people, they put money on a pedestal as opposed to feeling equal to money. And you need to start seeing it as a resource that is actually here to support you. The universe supports you through money. It's just a part of this experience, because way back in the day, we had the barter system. It would be like, I'm showing up with a chicken, you're showing up with a cow, and we're like exchanging, and then things just got too complex. And then with like globalization, it's just not efficient, right? So we needed something to store value. So if you can kind of just see it as a tool, that would be really helpful for you. Um, the second thing is, I just had it because I'm thinking about like the two most important parts. Give me a minute. Um, the second thing is to have fun with money. So what money actually shared with us in the masterclass is that it seeks to expand, and it just wants to have fun. And so when you like, spending is expansion. If you could just tell yourself that spending is expansion. When I spend money, I benefit, the recipient benefits, and that's like this fun creative play where we're just exchanging goods and services and resources and like all these cool things. Just have more fun with it, and it's going to take that like that human seriousness out of it.
Yeah, I love that. Are there any books? I mean, you've obviously went to college for this and you studied a lot, but is there any basic books or anything that you've like, resources that you might just throw out for someone?
Interesting.
Say that again.
In terms of investing, or just more so of the spiritual side of money?
Uh, Actually, I'm more thinking like just a practical tool. I think like, you know, when even when for me, I can speak to my own experience when I was like, okay, now I've worked on the energy because I think what the spiritual aspect, what happens for a lot of people, I think procrastination happens because we're so uncomfortable around something. So once we start to say, okay, wait, money is a tool and it's something I can have fun with, then we stop procrastinating around maybe where we're not handling our money. And then it's a process of learning the tools of how to do that, you know, and calling the resources in. Like, all right, maybe you realize like I never saved any money, and what does that look like to start putting away a percentage or committing? Like that might be a one basic skill set of like, I make such and such, I'm going to commit now to saving that 30% of what I make and just putting it aside and never touching it. um, I just figure since you are versed in this, if there's a book or anything that you've ever come across, you're just
Yeah.
like, oh, this really like
Um,
taught me a lot.
it's so funny because I actually never read finance books. Um, there's a book. Um, I'm forgetting the name right now, just in terms of like practical investment or like saving strategies. I cannot think of it right now. I'm so sorry. Can't
You
think
do
of
not, it's totally okay. I just figured while you're here, I'm going to ask you. And if something
because
pops into your mind, I mean, it could be anything. Like, I just want to share as many resources with people as possible.
I do have a tip. Most of you are probably familiar with Robinhood. There's a newsletter you can subscribe to, and it's called Robinhood Snacks. And the reason why they've named it Snacks is because it's digestible financial information. And so it's really fun. It's really playful how they talk about the markets, how they talk about different things. So if you're just interested in that world, I think that will be a really cool resource for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I bring it up too because I think it's so important. You know, I'm so inspired by the different people, especially like really young people who have taken up like and committed to. I was on a conversation earlier today with someone like he was like, I'm committed to solving the food crisis, like figuring out how we share resources and we have enough food and how do we get it to everyone. And and to do that efficiently involves understanding money, understanding organizations, and getting these tools and teaching each other about it. I've had my struggles over, you know, the years of fine tuning that, like investing money, losing it, being like, well, that didn't work. Okay, let me try this method. Let me try that method, you know? So
Hmm.
just to like, in general, just as much as talking about channeling intergalactic consciousness might be seen as taboo, talking about money and how to create it in some communities is equally as taboo. So we're talking about all the things here to normalize them so that all of us can be as integrated and empowered around our leadership to step forward with what our blueprint, you know, what we chose to come do here on planet Earth. You know, whether you identify as being a star seed or not, we all have a part to play on making a massive shift on planet Earth right now so that we can come more into alignment and into harmony with the cycles and with the consciousness of Gaia, just as much as we talk about connecting in to the intergalactic beings, you know. And through my understanding, some of these civilizations have gone through the same things. They just did it so many like eons ago that they're really good at it. So they're giving us tidbits. They're like, oh yeah, when we went through that, we did this. And this is where we had to learn to like connect into our heart energy and so on and so forth. Um, just as much as we're connecting to those intelligence, it's also we are on a planet who has her own consciousness, right? And just connecting into Gaia's or Panchamama, you know, you spoke about plant medicines. There's so
Hmm.
many little bits we could go back
I
into.
know.
Like, I do want to just say a lot of my extraterrestrial experiences have come from plant medicine ceremonies as well. So when you hit on that, I was like, oh, you know, that's true. That happened for me too. Like I've felt my consciousness pushed out of my body and an extraterrestrial being come into my body during an
Wow.
ayahuasca ceremony. And I was just like, oh, okay, that's
Crazy.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I realize in hindsight that if they had just told me, like in the spirit realm, what the message, I would have gotten it on a logical level. But because the consciousness of that being came into my body, encoded on a cellular level, the memory of its knowing. And at that time, I was having a lot of doubt about our humanity evolving to a state where we were just not going to be wiped out, because I started to look at the stats of all the different species that were going extinct. And I was like, we are screwed. And I'm so good at, I'm such a positive person. And like, part of my gift is just to keep like encouraging people and being like, no, we got this, we got this. But at that point in my life, I was like, I don't have any faith anymore. I think it's done. And that being came in and was like, no, the fate of this planet is already determined. It was such a warrior essence. And I was like, oh, never mind. And I've never doubted it again. I was like, all right, cool. Just
Yeah.
get on board with that galactic team and like work on that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to speak a little bit more to your plant medicine, we can do that now. I know like some
Yeah.
people speak more openly or not. It's completely up
think
to you.
honestly, I was so blessed. And of course we plan out all these things, you know, in our little soul contracts, like how we're gonna awaken, when we're gonna awaken or whatever. But for me, it was really like it was insane because I was coming to all of these like different conclusions about just what I thought about God and the universe. And it's like, so conceptually I understood, right? But having the experience of it is beyond human words. And so in my plant medicine experiences, I had full ego deaths, you know, full ego deaths of just the personality character Erin just went away. And I reunited with pure source energy. I haven't done any like shrooms or anything like that in the last, I want to say like 3 years now. And even my experiences from like 6 years ago, they're so powerful that I still think about them every single day, that I get flashbacks from just,
Wow.
I literally remember what it's like to be one with source energy. And I think when you're here to do like a high level job, that like who you are can really be challenged, you need to have those experiences to reference. And I think if I did not have that just flat out knowingness, like it's not a belief, it's like, no, I know this to be true. It's provided me with so much grounding and clarity to be here and like, you know, show up and talk about things like this, because I'm like, I'm not crazy, you guys are just, you know. And it's not an ego thing, it's just like you have to get to that place within your own understanding where you're just like, no, this is just what it is, and like I'm not budging on this, this is what it is. So um super thankful for those experiences.
Yeah, I really like what you're saying. When we talk about what you mentioned earlier, reality being a sort of like a game, and when we stand what you're saying, when enough people, I look at society as collective agreements, right? I
Yes.
love to use the example of green light, red light. Like green does not mean go. It doesn't have any inherent meaning. That's a collective
I
agreement, right? So we have collective agreements, and that's why the world is manifesting and showing up in the way that it is right now. And when enough of us take that stand with the way that you just spoke about it, like, no, actually, this is who I am. I'm standing in my power, and I will only use my life force and my mind and emotional energy to see the world that I choose to live in. When enough of us do that, that collective agreement shifts, and then the power, we literally like unplug from the old system or the outdated system and start recreating and plugging our life force and our visions into the new system that we're collectively creating through an agreement of what we want to live in and what we want to pass down to future generations. And it comes with that certainty that you just spoke about. And I
yeah,
think everyone goes through that process of first questioning and then feeling into it, and then actually like truly bit by bit embodying it more and more.
yeah. Because there's nothing like it's who you are. It's who you are on a eternal divine soul level. So when you reemerge with that energy or with that knowing, um, it's just a space where there's nothing that you can question. It's just pure knowingness, right? And when you
Mm-hmm.
experience pure knowingness, you won't budge. Like maybe you're still gonna have lessons and challenges and like triggers and like things are going to reflect in your reality that are going to let you know like where you are with certain things. But ultimately, if you can reference this inner knowing of like, no, I know that I am an extension of source energy, it's, you know, it's not really much that anyone else can do. And this is bringing me to the point of, I kind of want to go into victimization a little bit, like just because we're talking about empowerment for light workers or star seeds or whatever, you have to understand that everybody in your game is just a reflection. It's just something that you can use as a tool to gauge where you are. In truth, there's really no enemy. There's really no outside negative force working against you. It's that as souls, all of our higher selves agreed to incarnate to play this game, because in the spirit realm there's just pure absolute bliss and love. While that's great and that's beautiful, it doesn't necessarily allow the soul to, they're saying like it doesn't allow the soul to truly have experiential knowledge, to truly have kind of like this deep transformational like growth. So we incarnate into these lives where we create these illusions of like problems and drama and etc., so we can learn from them. So when you understand that, okay, everybody's just playing a game, even if, you know, someone did something bad to me, I understand the role that that soul is playing for me to see something within myself. That is how you become the master of your matrix, because you realize that everything is just a vehicle for my transformation. It's not actually that something bad is happening to me. Your higher self will set up certain situations that from your perspective seem like, okay, this is a shit show, but your own higher self will set those things up because you have things that you came here to learn. And the more you start to fill into that and ground into that, life becomes more of like, you're like the person with all the cheat codes, right? It's like nothing phase you. You're like, okay, me and this idiot have like a soul contract and they're gonna annoy the shit out of me until I get this lesson. And then you get the lesson and then done. You don't have to deal with like a narcissistic personality anymore, like things like that. Yeah, they wanted me to bring that up because a lot of people right now, they just see like all these external forces as being like ruling over them or determining the like their fate, and they're like, that's not true. It's just a tool like everything else.
Yeah, I think what I'd love to speak to and hear what comes through yourself and, you know, whoever you're channeling through and wants to speak through you. Um, you've mentioned many times, and you and I operate in a similar relationship to the universe. And you've also mentioned things like reincarnation, which not, you know, some many religions do not
Yeah.
teach
Oh.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And some people do not actually have, they don't, like for me, I've had experiences of remembering my past life. So it's very real. It's experientially real and tangible to me. I don't know if you've had those experiences, but I speak to this because in this, what you just shared, I think where people come up around to that idea or taking on that perspective has to do with integrating our understanding around death. Because, like, well, if someone literally kills someone, how can you say, you know, or like some of the things that we're dealing with, you know, like oppressive, you know, regimes, I mean, all over the world in different types of ways that do horrific stuff to
Yep.
people. And I've had people say this to me, how can you say that that's okay? Or that was that soul just supposed to learn that having their kid, you know, shot is like part of it. So being able, you know, I want to speak to this because for some people that's really hard to grasp. And we might, I mean, I love to have you speak to it, to hear like the what the Arcturians or you know, his channel on this. When I found, at least for me, when I really like surrendered and moved into a space of identifying beyond my personality or my ego and my death, fear of death, because you also mentioned ego death, as
Mm-hmm.
that shifted, I've been able to move into this understanding of an infinite, you know, motion and creation that learns within itself. And I'm not as identified to certain things that, you know, are happening to quote unquote me, or that could have happened to me, that horrible thing. It's allowed me to expand into a bigger vision. So I'd love to hear what you have to say to someone who might be like, well, yeah, that sounds great, but like there's really horrific stuff happening in the world.
Yeah, that's a great question. I know a lot of people struggle with that. So right now I'm getting the angelic realm. So the archangels want to speak on this. what they're saying is you yourself have had, like, just speaking to us individually, have had lifetimes where you chose to play the villain. And guess what? When that life was over and the parties involved learned from that experience, all was forgiven because whoever was involved in that signed up for that. Okay. So nothing is ever happening to somebody that they didn't actually already agree to experience. And so if you even think about it, the person who is willing to play the villain character for you, or if they're saying take someone like Hitler, who, was a part of millions of people dying and being killed horrifically. What soul would choose that role to play for mass consciousness? Because once we had that example of, okay, that's what we don't want, right? We never want to see something like that happen again. Somebody had to be willing to play that part. And guess who's willing to play that part? Someone who's actually really, really highly evolved and close to that of an angel. Because they're saying you have to think about it in terms of like unconditional love. The people who harm you in life are actually your best friends on the other side, because those are the people that love you that much that they're going to play the grueling role for you. So your ego wants to be like, oh, they're bad, people are doing this and that. But they're saying you also have to look at the society that we have collectively created that also contributes to people developing into the person that would like rob somebody or rape somebody or do these different things. And they're saying on a true divine soul level, that is a pure divine aspect of source energy who is just dealing with the circumstances of their reality.
Yeah.
um and that's just really what it is. And when you operate like that, you will shift into your highest self, because you're going to be always living through a lens of unconditional love, where it doesn't matter what it looks like. Wow, I understand that beneath the ego, that is just God. That's God in drag right now, just kind of like exploring consciousness and playing a game, and like playing this temporary role. And they're wanting to relate this to Christ consciousness and Jesus. They're saying that when Jesus was here on this planet, um he was a master that could just see straight through the ego of whatever role somebody was playing. If somebody was like homeless or poor or something like that, he's like, oh, that's God. And so in his presence, they couldn't even exist in their lower selves. That's where the healing came in, where like a physical illness couldn't exist in his presence because he could just see through the illusion of all of it. And they're saying we all
Hmm.
have the ability to do that. And that's what we're actually getting ready to ascend into.
Yeah, I really love like 2 points in this discussion that just like kind of pinged in my mind. One is again going back to what you started, which is this concept of victimhood. What does it really look like to assume full responsibility as creator on all levels? And when you do that, no matter what appears to be externally happening to you, and it's not that things don't externally happen to you, we have that experience, but do you say, great, this thing happened, what came up in me, how do I take full responsibility and then utilize it for my own soul expansion, no matter how, on what gradient of the ever infinite existence of a sensation that's moving through our body, where we identify as happiness or we identify as sad. How do we use those experiences again to take full responsibility and put it towards our own soul growth?
Mm-hmm.
um I think of that. And then the second thing I thought of has just left my mind. So maybe I'll think about it later. um,
Happens to
I
me. I'm like,
I
I'll
know.
just blank and I'm like, what? I don't know. It'll come back.
I do want to, just because we've been talking for an hour, and I don't, I want to just like, for everyone who's shown up here, if you're ready, I'd love to just go back to Star Seeds, talk about leadership and the activation that you were inspired to share with everyone. Let's do that, and then maybe we can open up. I see some people commenting and really resonating with the conversation. If you guys have any questions, please put them in the comments so that Erin and I can answer any questions that you have or any subjects that you want us to talk
So
about.
do you
Yes.
want to Or questions
I want to
really
do that after. So I'm just
fast.
prepping everyone. If you have a question, get ready. But let's do, if you're ready,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
do the activation. Because I know I'm excited about the activation. I'm like jumping out of my seat. Activation, activation.
Um, so I know new people join, so I just want to quickly recap. So a star seed is if you are a star seed, that means that your soul is originated from a different planet and you have incarnated on Earth to bring all of your light, all of your wisdom, anchor in all of these higher frequencies to help humanity evolve during this time of great ascension and great expansion. Okay, you may be an Earth angel, which just means that you are closely affiliated to the high angelic realm and you carry angelic frequencies. And what they're saying is, like, if you identify as some sort of light worker, all you have to do is be yourself. Like, by being yourself, you are already impacting every single person that interacts with you or comes into your energetic field. Because what they're saying is, for many of us, we've ascended to the point of we have crystalline um, energy fields, meaning we clear out like dense spaces without even knowing it. That just by you having that higher consciousness and anchoring in these frequencies, you're doing your job. It's not like you have to show up on Instagram and like build this presence if you don't want to. In your everyday life, in your everyday reality, you're already doing that. The specific family that you've been implanted in is for a reason, because you are meant to help those souls evolve. You're already doing your job, so they wanted to just share that. So this activation, so I'm going to do a light language activation for those of you who have not experienced light language. What it is light language is our soul's first language, so it doesn't come out as English. It is different sound dialect combinations that are really high vibrational, and they speak past your ego because your mind can't interpret it and like try to like analyze it and judge it and this and that. It, to you, it's going to sound like gibberish, but it speaks to your heart and soul, and it helps you like recode on a cellular level. So the activation, that, let me just see if it's going to be Arcturian or angelic or both. We will utilize a combination of both frequencies. Okay, so it's going to be an Arcturian angelic activation, and they're saying it's going to speak to your soul to realign you with the original mission that you signed up for, so that can start expanding and opening. And I want you guys to be aware this is really powerful. I found out that I was a channel and like all this crazy stuff because I started like tapping into light language, and I was like, oh, this is cool, like I like this. And then it was so rapid because on a cellular level you are literally shifting, you're literally aligning to that original blueprint in that plan. So that's what we're going to do today. So you
Can I
guys,
just add really before you jump in there? Because I'm such a neurological geek. We take for granted that English is literally just sounds coming out of our mouth that we have trained
you're
ourselves to
familiar
give
with.
meaning to. Literally, I'm just going like, oh, anyway. And because we've been conditioned into the specific languages that they grew up, they create filters for how we perceive reality and what we actually, when they say seeing is believing, it's actually the other way around. What we have the vocabulary for conditions our brain into how it perceives the infinite reality into finite. So when we
That.
use things like light language, you're breaking up conditioned patterns in how your brain understands information. You're opening up new neural pathways and like giving yourself this beautiful sound bath. So I just want to speak to it on that way as well so people can take that in.
Oh, I love that. So happy you said that. And what they're saying is that um words hold vibration. Words hold like information. And so the words that we speak in like our human language, it's not on the highest frequency um that it could be on. Like what they're saying is like that's why they communicate telepathically, because words don't really convey what the soul already knows or like what someone is actually trying to communicate. So yeah, super happy you brought that up.
All right, I'm like strapping in my galactic seatbelt. I'm ready.
Love that, love that, love that. So yeah, you guys can just relax. You can close your eyes if you want. You can keep your eyes open. I also do like some hand mudras and things like that. So now I'm just gonna kind of like clear the energy before we get into the activation. Sending divine angels to surround each and every one of these beings. Dear Archangel Michael, please remove any lower level energies in the auric fields or in the space of these beings so that they can anchor in these higher divine frequencies at this time. And you guys can just relax. And here we go. Aqualacate e, qualacatu, alaquacatate te, qualacate tu, qualacatati shu, alaquanacata, palacate e, qualacata shu. U hela hala ela hahakata ala he ala hakate ala kwala kate e kwala katu wala kata te e kana katu wala kata kete te kwala kata u kwala kate e kwala kana na pakati ku kwala kata a. Shuala kapwala kate e shuala kapwala kate e kata kaka kula kata tu kwala kapakatu. Ashu kwalakapakatu alakana manakate e kwalakatu shu kwalakate ti. And just relax. I'm going to do a toning to align the chakras. Angelic toning. Just reminding the cells that they are pure consciousness, they are pure unconditional love, and it is okay to return to their home frequency at this time. Let's just sit in this energy for a minute. Notice any subtle changes in the body. If there is a release taking place, let that happen. Allow that to happen. Witness that happening. Allow yourself to remember that you are safe. You have always been safe. You are divinely supported and loved beyond your comprehension. And that divine angels have orchestrated this co-creative moment so that your path may be activated in a new way and you can expand into your highest timeline. And let's start to bring our awareness back into the body and slowly start to open our eyes if they have been closed. Whew.
That was awesome.
How do you feel?
I feel phenomenal. I felt at first a lot of heat actually moving through my body. And
Okay.
then towards the end, I was like, when you just said, I don't remember the exact words, but allowing like ourselves to be in their home residence of pure love and spaciousness. I like felt like a bubbly party inside of me. I wanted to be like, yeah. And I was like, don't disturb the meditation, Nada. So I feel really elated and happy and light and excited right now.
Yeah,
I
I
feel,
feel that. I feel that. And what they're even saying is when these types of things happen in the physical on a vibrational, or they're saying like on a spiritual astral level, all of our higher selves have all already like kind of like agreed that this was going to take place, and so there's just pure joy and excitement in the soul to start to awaken and start to really activate the path in a way that we were meant to live. So super excited. I hope you guys resonated. I'd love to just see in the comments like what your experience,
yeah.
if you have any questions for us. But this was me. I feel great. Oh my gosh, I feel
Like people coming on to the live right now are just popping in. I'm like, I feel amazing. You're like, I feel amazing too.
like it just happened.
So constantly kicking ass, who's my friend Cindy. It's so good to see you. She said she had shivers and felt lightness. And I'd love for, I know there are a few other people who are super excited. Oh, hi, Tamala. Um, I know Lily was excited. If you want to jot in there what you felt, please, you guys, write in there. Like, we want you as much as possible to be a
Oh, I
part. Oh, look, someone was
like,
crying during the light language, spiral cord jewelry.
yeah, like your soul remembers, right? Your soul knows. So when you can have that moment of just pure connectivity, that, like I said, your mind can't make sense of it. So it can't place a judgment or like try to analyze what's being said. It's just straight to the soul, straight to the heart. So it can get emotional, definitely.
Yeah. And there's so much. You like tap into energy. There's the elation of reconnecting. And then I feel like when you reconnect into those, I'm working on creating language to stay away from hierarchical, like a higher vibration. But when we are those pure, like light, very frequent, like rapid frequency energies, a lot of the old stuff that was trapped in our body just clears out. So those tears sometimes come around like where maybe we weren't that nice to ourselves, or where like, wow, when we recognize like, oh my gosh, I'm this pure divine being, like, how come I spoke to myself like that for so many years or whatever? We all have our stuff that we go through.
Mhm.
It brings up tears. I
Yeah.
want to just share too, just since we're on here, for women in particular, when we cry, we release. So when we get stressed, we have certain hormones that we release into our system. And for men, it starts with a C, and now that's leaving my mind too. I'm so zenned out from your activation. Cortisol. When cortisol builds up in our system, when we get stressed, for men working out, they'll sweat it out faster. But for women, tears is the fastest way to clear cortisol. So I always tell people like, cry. We're so often the first thing that everyone's taught around crying is, oh,
Oh,
don't cry, it's okay. So like if you
I love it's my favorite thing. I'm like, and for people who are like who follow Sacred Hustle and you're like always on the lives and the activations, they know I'm like crying all the time. I'm like, guys, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get it together right now. But it's like tears of beauty and joy. When you cry from just soul joy, that is some of the best just like energy, because it's a bliss beyond words that is just so beautiful to the point that all you can do is cry. And I'm like, I'm getting emotional right now talking about it, of course, because that pure unconditional love energy, when you experience it, you're just like, wow, like what you said about I've been such this beautiful, amazing being this whole time. And I've been holding on to unworthiness. I've been holding on to self-judgment. I've been conditioned to think that I'm a bad person when I'm really like a fucking rock star, right? And the soul is so happy that you're like remembering this that the tears come
Hmm.
because of the release. So it's really beautiful.
It really is. And I just want to, we had a few people comment. Shazi said that he felt beauty and magic. Aliyah, I hope I pronounced that right, says she's also smiling
Oh,
and she says, "Thank you, Erin."
oh yeah.
And Lily said that she felt that and that she feels it like that her pure divine beingness for sure. Yay. I also just want to say here, I know that so many people end up watching this as a recording and that these types of healing go beyond space and time so that this will just be just as effective. And if you want to
Yep.
speak to this at all, it's just as effective for anyone watching this as a recording as those of us who are here on the live. Do you want to share anything about that or
Yeah, sure. So the first thing that they're like really quantum and stuff. They're like the masters of the quantum universe, they say. So what they're just saying is like that time doesn't really exist anyway. So this this now moment is eternally happening, and if someone's going to perceive themselves as seeing this after it happens, but it already happened, like if they're going to see it, it's just like different timelines that you synchronize with that actually already exist. um so yeah, that's how they're explaining it. Hope that makes sense.
it does. It makes total sense. Scrolling to see. Does anybody want to, if anyone has a
Yeah.
question, like while we're here live, that you want to ask Erin, please jot it down in the comments and we can address that. And also, Erin, is there anything, obviously I want to ask, like, I know you did like a money magnet mastermind.
Magnetism masterclass.
Yeah. So, you're obviously doing things like this. How do people get access, or can people still access? Do you have a recording of that people can access, or how do they know for your next mastermind when you're going to do
I
it?
I do. So what you can do is if you visit the link in the Sacred Hustle bio and you subscribe. So I think I have like you get a free ebook actually if you subscribe, and then I'll have your email, and then I'll resend the replay from that out again because so many people have subscribed since I sent it out the last time. And so you can be on that next list. You can do that. And then also I do soul blueprint readings. So you can book a session. It's a 1 hour in-depth session where I connect with your galactic family, whatever whoever's coming through for you, and we basically talk about specifically what you are here to do, what you are energetically coded to do, the different things that your soul wanted to experience in this lifetime. And it just helps you get back on track. If you have any gifts, if you're a channel, if you are here to speak light language or do Reiki or something like that, they're going to tell you. So you don't have like this guessing game of like, I think I'm a star seed, I think I'm like getting downloads, but I don't know. And it's just like a reunion. It's a reunion with your star family or with whatever guides that you have, just to help you stay on track. So
Awesome.
two different ways you can work with me as of now.
That sounds awesome. I want to acknowledge Napoleon Gratitude just wrote here. I'll just read it verbatim. I am a firm believer in reincarnation. When two souls make an agreement to come to this world and do something like having a child, how does it not happen? So the question being like, if there's pre-contracts, how is it that those contracts maybe don't actually execute in the way that they may were perhaps like pre-agreed in the soul world?
What they're saying is it all has to do with like vibration and frequency. So sometimes if someone's vibration is not in place, just like where it should have been, then that person might not be you might not be aligned to that, having that same experience with that person. Because what they're saying is we perceive it as, oh, I made this plan before I came, but time doesn't really exist. It's all actually happening now. So that's why you are in divine co-creation with your higher self, because your higher self, all of the higher selves are like making these decisions as we are incarnated into the physical right now. we perceive that as, oh, it happened before because we don't remember, we're living like a linear timeline, but it's actually all happening now. And so that's why things can like shift and change and they're not like super like, in stone. And if you're meant to play out, let's say like there's some karma between you and that individual that you guys want to balance or play out, it'll come back around in a different lifetime where, you can resolve that.
And also, I'm curious if you'd like share on the concept of free will, right? And how that plays in, because we do, whether it's perceived for free will or actual free will, we're living in a free will. I think most of us agree, Earth. Um, there's aspects of coming here where you get to make choices, right? Probably like otherwise we'd just be on a rote destiny just
Right,
to
right.
through executing our pre-agreed contracts.
Yeah. And so what the Arcturians are saying is that you choose kind of like the theme. So, for example, someone might say, I want to experience myself as being, I don't know, a movie star in this lifetime. Like I want to explore my creativity in that way. I want all of the lessons that's going to come up with that. But it will be up to that soul what types of movies that they want to act in or like things that they want to do. So we will create the overall structure and the themes, but the specifics are up to us. Because what they're saying is reality is constantly shifting and changing. So there's always going to be a different set of like opportunity to choose from, if that makes sense. So it's not like you can choose this before incarnating and it's going to be so set in stone because things are always like shifting. So it's almost like the palette is always going to change from like the tools that you can create with.
Oh, I don't know what your first name is, or maybe it is Aaliyah, but she just said she highly recommends a soul blueprint reading. I
Oh my,
want a soul blueprint reading.
yes, you can definitely do that. It's awesome. So before
Is there anything
we,
else, or what were you gonna say? Yeah, go for it. I was
yeah, I
just
was
gonna
just
ask you to share.
before we hop off. There was one more thing. Okay, so I'm just gonna let this transmission come through from the um archangels. Kwala kate e, kwala katu, kate e, kwa katati, kwala katu e. What they're saying is this is temporary. In this now moment, we allow you to remember that this experience is temporary. You are playing a game. If you knew you were playing a game, would you not have more fun? Um, a lot of people like to think of us or God and Jesus and all these other ascended masters as being really serious and really holier than thou. That is not true. What you find funny, we find funny. Where do you think the humor comes from? They're just saying, have fun with this experience. When you wake up tomorrow morning, we would like you to see your life as an opportunity to create. It is not a burden. You are not in a prison. No one is here to control you. No one is here to imprison you. You are your own creator. You have been given this opportunity to create, especially as a light worker. Have fun with the fact that you are connected, that you are coming into contact with information that's going to allow you to live an empowered life. We want you to have fun. All of the higher selves are saying, we've played the lat game, we've played the game of like you kill me and then I kill you in the next life, and like that's the lesson. And they're like, we're done with that. Okay. The higher selves have agreed that we've done all of that enough, and now it's truly about um anchoring source into the physical reality, to have fun, to experience abundance, to experience expansion. A lot of you struggle with money and we don't really understand this because is God not abundant? God is abundant, and so you are abundant because you are a part of God, and so money is just your physical tool to play this game. um You've played a certain game up until this point. We're giving you permission now to end that game and choose to play a new one. Um, yeah. That's that's pretty much what it's like. It's really playful. They're really playful tonight. They're just like, I want to see them have fun. Like, manifest your reality. Come on, let's have some fun.
It's actually really fascinating to me because last night to prep for this, I went and looked up. I've heard of Arcturians. I've like had them in reads. I mean, I've been in the spiritual world and heard these things. But I've
Right.
never actually like dove into who are the Arcturians, what planet do they come from, what is like their main purpose. So I actually went and watched. There's not that much content on Arcturians out there, by the
Yeah.
way. And I was watching on Gaia. There's a show called I think it's called Extra Dimensional, and they bring in different channels to do readings from different dimensions of different beings. And I watched the one on 11th dimensional Arcturians, and they literally said the guy asked, "Well, like, do Arcturians have sense of humors like human?" And they're like, "Yeah, we like to laugh and we like joy." They literally that message that you just brought through, I heard like similar one. So I just think it blows my mind
Yeah.
how synced everything actually is. And always coming back to the message of like, you're here, you're having experience, choose to love it, right?
Yeah.
Like you can choose to be miserable and suffer, but that's not, you're not going to be happy. You're definitely not going to be spreading happiness to everyone else around you. So, um, as best as you can, and I don't want to be insensitive to those that are going through depression. I've
Or,
been there, and I know sometimes it feels like you'll never get out of it, but you will, and you can tap in to. So maybe let me just ask you with one last tool, like for someone, like for those of us who just we can always increase our joy. Like, can we just tap into our turns and be like, hey, help us be happier, help us have more fun? Like, would there be some like one tool or like that you give that's
yeah.
really practical to everyone as we wrap up?
What they're saying is that we each have unique spirit guides that help us, during different phases of our life that are just always hanging around us and helping us learn certain things. But you can always just verbally ask, can, like, spirit guides, can you help me with this? Can you help me release this? Can you help me clear this? They're more than happy to do that for you. What they're saying is sometimes there is a lesson in it that needs to be learned. Um, and so just make sure you're doing the inner work before you just expect something to come in and like cleanse you of like all your shit. Basically, they're like, you still do some of the work, but absolutely that guidance and that support is always there for you, always.
I like to actually sometimes say, please help me integrate this lesson so I can move through it as
Yeah.
fast as possible.
It's so funny. I used to go through certain things and I would be like, I get the lesson. I'm tired of this. Can we speed this up? But then also it would be like, well, if you truly got it, you wouldn't still be going through
I
it. I'm too spiritual for this shit. Can we get on with it? And it's like, but nope, there's more. And it's
know.
there's always something. They're saying like there's always going to be a lesson, right? But the more you start to have fun with it, it won't even seem like a lesson. You'll see it as more of a gift because you're like, wow, I'm so happy I can see that now, in that way. So just have the main message tonight is really fun. Have fun with this experience.
Well, you are a true gift. I'm so happy that you've come into my
You would.
life with all these Arcturians and angelic beings as well. All of you guys are gift. Thank you for joining today and taking some time out of your schedule to share everything that you shared with us and like to share your activation and your channeling and just to talk about your experience about really like stepping into your role as a leader, as a spiritual teacher and sharing the things that like may not be so normal, and just as an example, giving all of us, when we do that, we give everyone unconscious permission to do the same. So for everyone here watching, like, be yourself. Who cares what anyone thinks? Like,
Yeah.
whoever you're speaking to.
And
And if there are any last messages you want to
yeah,
leave
one
us
last
with.
thing saying for you, so the angels are saying you are such a beautiful soul. We're so happy that you have stepped into showing up in this way and facilitating these conversations. You have no idea how expansive it
Mm.
is, and it allows people to just connect to this information that they need. And they're just saying, never doubt this role that you are here to play and everything that you're here to do. They're like, there's so much more. I'm getting like, they're saying like books and all types of stuff. And they're just saying, you are magical and like,
Oh,
they got you. So yeah.
thank you. I received that.
Yes,
They
yes.
tried to get me to write a book. I was working on a book, and I tried. I was like, no, forget this. It's too. I can't. No.
It's
So
a
I was like,
lot.
I'll do IG live and talk to people all day, but like, just don't make me write another book. Like, thank you for that message.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, everybody who showed up and co-created this session with us. You guys are amazing. Have a awesome evening,
Yeah.
guys. It's night for
I'm
me, but
I just want to remind everyone to go follow you. Go follow Erin. I put it in the pin at
follow
Sacred
you, girl.
Hustle. I'm telling everyone, go follow her. She's amazing. She's doing great content. You're just started. Like, you're just in the beginning of this journey. I want everyone to watch you evolve and everyone to evolve together. And as we come together and create community to change this world, we got to network. So support each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. Love you all.
Bye. Have a beautiful night.
You too. Thank you.